The vast emptiness of space held many secrets, but none quite like the one the alien research vessel Stellar Seeker stumbled upon that day. Against the backdrop of distant stars, their sensors detected something large drifting in the void, a massive shape that shouldn't have been there. Professor Vale stood at the command center, his four eyes widening as the initial scans came through. The object was clearly artificial, roughly 300 meters in length, and bore the unmistakable signs of weapons damage along its dark hull. But what caught his attention wasn't its size or condition, it was its origin. "This can't be correct," he muttered, tapping the holographic display with one of his upper appendages. "Run the scan again." The ship's computer chirped in response, and the results came back identical. The vessel floating before them was of human origin. "Professor," called out one of his junior researchers, "look at these markings. They're in English." The young scientist highlighted a section of the hull on the main screen, revealing faded letters that still managed to stand out against the scurred metal. U.S. Thunder. Vale moved closer to the display, his natural scientific curiosity overtaking his initial skepticism. A human warship, all the way out here, and from their first interstellar war period, no less. He checked the dating analysis. This ship is over 300 years old. The research team worked quickly to secure a stable scanning position around the derelict vessel. Initial readings showed no active power signatures, no life signs, and no functioning systems. It was, for all intents and purposes, dead in space. "Look at the design," commented Dr. Reed, the team's technology specialist, with barely concealed amusement. "Those are primitive nuclear fusion drives. And that armor plating. It's practically ancient by today's standards. This must have been one of their early attempts at deep space combat vessels." Vale nodded absently, more interested in the ship's historical significance than its technological shortcomings. This could be an important find. The First Interstellar War was a crucial period in human history. It was shortly after this that they became more reclusive in their technological development. The team spent the next several hours conducting detailed scans of the vessel. The hull showed significant battle damage, with several breaches visible along its port side. Whatever conflict this ship had been involved in, it hadn't emerged unscathed. "Professor," called out the navigation officer, "the nearest research station is only 2 light years from our position. We could tow this vessel there for proper study. Our facilities here are limited." Vale considered the suggestion. The discovery of such a well-preserved specimen from this era was too important to pass up. "Agreed. Prepare the towing equipment. We'll need to be careful. This relic might fall apart if we're not gentle." As the crew began the delicate process of securing the ancient warship for transport, Vale couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and pity. The humans had come so far since building this vessel, yet they'd chosen to become increasingly secretive about their military technology in recent centuries. Perhaps studying this relic would provide some insight into their developmental process. The towing beams engaged with a soft hum, creating an energy cradle around the U.S. Thunder. As they began the slow process of moving the massive ship, nobody noticed the brief flicker of light deep within its damaged hull. A tiny power surge in systems that were supposed to be long dead. Log update. Vale spoke into his personal recorder. Day 255, Standard Galactic Calendar. "We have discovered and preserved human warship from their first interstellar war period, approximately 300 years old. The vessel appears to be a combat-class ship, showing significant battle damage but maintaining structural integrity. We are transporting it to Research Station 7 for detailed analysis. This discovery could provide valuable insights into early human military technology and their subsequent technological isolation." He paused, looking at the massive ship through the viewport one more time before adding, "While primitive by current standards, this vessel represents an important piece of human history. Perhaps by understanding their past, we might better understand why they became so guarded about their present military capabilities." The Stellar Seeker's engines pulsed gently as it began its journey to the research station, towing its ancient prize through the stars. None of its crew could have guessed that they were about to learn exactly why humans had become so secretive about their military technology, and it had nothing to do with embarrassment over their primitive designs. Research Station 7 buzzed with excitement as the U.S. Thunder was carefully maneuvered into the main examination bay. The massive chamber, designed to hold vessels twice its size, made the human warship look somehow smaller than it had in space. Scientists from various departments gathered on the observation deck, eager to study this piece of human history. Commander Ricks stood at the front of the observation deck, his tall frame towering over the research team. As the station's military commander, he had insisted on being present for the initial examination. His lip curled slightly as he watched the old ship being secured. "To think the humans actually fought wars with these things," he said, not bothering to hide his disdain. "You can hardly call it a warship. Look at those weapon mounts. They're practically antiques." Dr. Marcus, a young researcher who had just joined the station, moved closer to the window. Unlike his colleagues, his expression showed genuine fascination rather than amusement. "But sir, humans were known for their innovative solutions. Maybe there's more to it than we can see." The comment earned him several chuckles from the senior researchers. Professor Vale, who had arrived with the ship, stepped forward to begin the briefing. A holographic display sprang to life, showing detailed scans of the Thunder systems. "As you can see," Vale explained, pointing to various sections of the display, "the ship uses what appears to be a basic nuclear fusion drive system. The weapon hardpoints suggest kinetic weaponry, literally throwing metal at high speeds." This drew more laughter from the crowd. Commander Ricks stepped up to the hologram. "Let me show you something." He pulled up an image of a modern alien warship. "This is what real military technology looks like. Quantum drives, plasma weapons, neural-linked targeting systems. The humans were playing with toys compared to what we have now." The scientists nodded in agreement, but Dr. Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something. He studied the scans carefully, noticing subtle details that seemed odd. The power conduits were routed in unusual patterns. The armor plating had layers that didn't make sense for simple protection. "Permission to begin an internal examination?" Dr. Marcus asked. Commander Ricks waved his hand dismissively. "Granted, though I don't know what you expect to find. This would make a better museum piece than a research subject." More laughter followed. As the day progressed, teams of scientists crawled over and through the Thunder, documenting everything they found. They treated it more like an archaeological dig than a military examination, making jokes about the primitive technology they encountered. "Look at this computer system," one researcher called out. "It probably has less processing power than our food replicators." The comment sparked another round of amusement. Dr. Marcus, however, had found his way to what appeared to be the ship's engineering section. Something about the layout bothered him. It was too convenient, too simple. In his experience, human engineering was usually more complex, even in their early designs. "Commander," he called over the comm system, "I'm picking up some unusual readings from deep within the ship's core. Probably radiation from their crude reactor systems." Ricks replied dismissively. "Don't worry about it. Just document everything for the historical record. This will make an excellent teaching tool, showing young officers how far advanced we are compared to other species." But as the day wore on, the readings Dr. Marcus had noticed began to change. Subtle power fluctuations appeared in systems that should have been dead. Tiny lights flickered in darkened corridors when no one was looking. The ship, despite its apparent dormant state, seemed to be watching. At the end of the first day of examination, Commander Ricks stood before the assembled research team. "Let this be a lesson to all of you," he announced proudly. "While we respect the humans as a species, this ship shows us why they've become so secretive about their military technology in recent centuries. They're embarrassed by how far behind they are." As the scientists filed out of the observation deck, Dr. Marcus lingered behind. He watched the old ship sitting silently in the bay, its battle-scarred hull telling a story that nobody else seemed interested in hearing. And deep within the U.S. Thunder, in systems that the arrogant aliens hadn't even noticed yet, something was quietly coming awake. The day's reports would document the Thunder as an interesting but unremarkable relic of a lesser species' military past. None of them suspected that very soon they would learn exactly why making assumptions about human technology was a dangerous mistake. The attack came without warning. Research Station 7's sensors detected the hostile fleet just moments before they dropped out of hyperspace. 12 warships, their hulls painted in the dark colors of the Raiders, the most feared pirate group in this sector of space. Commander Rix rushed to the command center, his face tight with concern. Status report. 12 enemy vessels, heavy combat class, reported his tactical officer. They're charging weapons. Sir, they're using some kind of new technology. Our scanners can barely read them. The station's warning sirens blared as the first shots were fired. Brilliant beams of energy struck the station's shields, making them flicker dangerously. Shields at 60% and dropping fast, called out the defense officer. Whatever they're using, it's cutting through our defenses like they weren't even there. A harsh voice crackled over the station's communication system. This is Captain Drell of the Raider fleet. Your shields will fail. Your defenses are useless. Surrender now, and we may let some of you live. Commander Rix gritted his teeth. Launch our defense fleet. All ships, engage the enemy. The station's protective fleet of 6 modern warships moved to intercept the Raiders. Their weapons blazed across space, lighting up the darkness with plasma fire and energy beams. But something was wrong. The Raiders' ships seemed to shrug off hits that should have crippled them. Sir, the tactical officer's voice cracked with panic. Their hull armor, it's absorbing our weapons fire. Standard attacks are ineffective. Dr. Marcus watched from the research level as the battle unfolded. Behind him, through the reinforced windows, sat the U.S. Thunder, still and silent in its examination bay. The strange power readings he detected earlier had grown stronger, but everyone had been too busy mocking the old ship to notice. The station shook violently as another blast struck their shields. Shields at 15%. Someone shouted over the general communication channel. We can't take much more of this. Professor Vale rushed into the command center. Commander, we've lost contact with Central Command. We're on our own. Commander Rix watched helplessly as another of his ships exploded under the Raiders' assault. In less than 10 minutes, his modern advanced fleet had been reduced to 2 damaged vessels, trying desperately to protect the station. Sir, Dr. Marcus's voice came over the comm. I have an idea. It's going to sound crazy, but what if we try to activate the Thunder? That ancient human wreck. Rix laughed bitterly. What's it going to do? Throw rocks at them. Another blast rocked the station. Shields at 8%. Multiple hull breaches on levels 3 through 7. Dr. Marcus persisted. Commander, I've been detecting power readings from deep within its systems. I think it might still be operational. At this point, what do we have to lose? The station shook again. Warning lights flashed across every console as systems began to fail. The Raiders' weapons were literally tearing the station apart. Commander Rix looked at his tactical display. 4 of his ships destroyed. The other 2 crippled. The station's shields about to fail. And the Raiders weren't even damaged. Fine, he snapped. Do it. Try to wake up your ancient human relic. We're dead anyway if these shields fail. Dr. Marcus didn't waste time responding. He was already running toward the Thunder's main airlock, his mind racing. The power readings he detected had to mean something. The ship's layout, its systems, everything was too perfect, too simple, like it was designed to be underestimated. Behind him, the station's defenses continued to crumble. Shields at 3%. The defense officer's voice was filled with despair, structural integrity failing on multiple decks. We can't hold them much longer. As Dr. Marcus reached the Thunder's airlock, the Raiders' leader transmitted again. Your shields are failing. Your ships are destroyed. This is your final chance to surrender." Commander Rick stared at the tactical display, watching as the 12 raider ships moved into position to deliver the killing blow to his station. His modern, advanced station, with all its sophisticated technology, was about to fall to pirates. And their only hope now rested in an ancient human warship that everyone had spent the last day laughing at. Dr. Marcus sprinted through the U.S. Thunder's dark corridors, his handheld light bouncing off the metal walls. Behind him, 2 junior engineers struggled to keep up. The whole ship shuddered as another blast hit the research station. They were running out of time. "The bridge should be this way," he called back to the others. Yesterday, they had mapped the entire command deck, laughing at its simple layout. Now that same simplicity was helping them navigate quickly through the darkness. They reached the bridge in minutes. Unlike the sleek, modern command centers of their own ships, the Thunder's bridge looked almost primitive. Basic control panels lined the walls. A large captain's chair sat in the center. Simple display screens, now dark and lifeless, covered the front section. "Start checking everything," Dr. Marcus ordered. "Look for any kind of power switch, emergency systems, anything." The station rocked again. Over their comms, they heard the defense officer's panicked voice. "Shields at 1%. We have multiple hull breaches. Emergency containment failing." Dr. Marcus ran his hands over the main control panel. Something about these systems had been bothering him since yesterday. They were too basic, too obvious, like they were designed to. "Wait," he whispered. "That's it." He rushed to what appeared to be a simple maintenance panel beneath the captain's chair. Yesterday, the research team had barely glanced at it, dismissing it as routine access to basic systems. But now, he pulled the panel open and found exactly what he'd suspected: a hidden interface, far more advanced than anything they'd seen on the ship so far. As his fingers touched the smooth surface, it lit up with a soft blue glow. A quiet hum filled the bridge. Lights began to flicker on, but not the harsh utility lighting they'd expected from an old warship. These were subtle, efficient LED systems that looked suspiciously modern. "Welcome back," a calm voice spoke from hidden speakers. "This is the U.S. Thunder's Combat Intelligence System. Please state nature of emergency activation." The 2 junior engineers jumped at the voice. Dr. Marcus leaned forward eagerly. "Research Station 7 is under attack by hostile forces. Our defenses are failing. We request immediate assistance." There was a pause, and then the voice returned. "Scanning. Confirmed. Detecting 12 hostile vessels with advanced weapon signatures. Station shields critical. Analyzing situation." Suddenly, every screen on the bridge came to life. But these weren't the simple displays they'd appeared to be. The glass surfaces transformed into high-resolution quantum displays, showing detailed tactical information and ship status. "Warning," the AI announced. "This vessel's true capabilities are classified. Do you accept responsibility for activation of combat systems?" "Yes," Dr. Marcus shouted as another explosion rocked the station. "Please, we need help." "Acknowledged. Beginning power-up sequence. Quantum core online. Nanoforge activating. Hull reconfiguration in progress." Throughout the ship, systems that had appeared dead or primitive began to transform. The dull metal walls shimmered as nanomachines awakened within them. The basic engine room hummed as advanced power systems came online. "By the stars," one of the engineers whispered, watching as the primitive control panels reconfigured themselves into advanced tactical stations. Outside, the Thunder's hull began to change. The battle scars and apparent damage smoothed away as nano-repair systems activated. Dark metal transformed into a surface that seemed to swallow light itself. "Station shields have failed." Commander Rick's voice came through their comms. "All personnel, prepare for..." "Commander," Dr. Marcus cut in. "You need to see this." Through the station's windows, everyone watched in amazement as the U.S. Thunder literally transformed before their eyes. The ancient warship was gone, replaced by something that looked more advanced than anything in their fleet. Hull reconfiguration complete, the AI announced. Quantum weapons online. Shield systems at 100%. All combat systems ready. Dr. Marcus stared at the tactical display, now showing capabilities that made their modern ships look primitive by comparison. This isn't a relic at all, is it? Correct, the AI replied. U.S. Thunder, special operations vessel, designed to be underestimated. And now it's time to show these raiders why that was a mistake. The ship's massive engines, no longer disguised as simple fusion drives, began to glow with an inner fire that defied conventional physics. The Thunder was awake, and it was angry. And in the research station's command center, Commander Rix watched with his mouth open as the primitive human vessel prepared to teach them all a lesson about making assumptions. The U.S. Thunder's bridge hummed with power as Dr. Marcus and his team watched in amazement. The ship's AI continued its startup sequence, revealing capabilities that seemed impossible. Full system explanation required for combat coordination, the AI announced, displaying true ship specifications. The main screen lit up with information that made Dr. Marcus's eyes widen. Everything they'd assumed about the ship had been wrong. Completely, utterly wrong. Thunder-class vessels, the AI explained, were designed by Human Special Operations Command for deep space infiltration and combat response. Our primary advantage, being underestimated. Holographic displays showed the ship's true form. The primitive fusion drives were actually quantum pulse engines, disguised to look simple. The basic armor was a shell hiding layers of nano-reactive plating that could adapt to any weapon type. Even the ship's size was an illusion. Parts of it existed in folded space, hidden from normal sensors. But the battle damage, one of the engineers started. Cosmetic, the AI replied. Applied by nanofabricators to enhance our cover story. This ship was never damaged. We were waiting. Commander Rix's voice came over the comm system. Dr. Marcus, what exactly are we dealing with here? Before Marcus could respond, the AI took over the station's communication system. Its voice echoed through every speaker, calm and confident. U.S. Thunder specifications. Length, 300 meters visible, 600 meters in total with folded space sections. Main weapons, quantum disruption cannons disguised as primitive railguns. Secondary weapons, nano-swarm missiles appearing as standard torpedoes. Defensive systems, multi-phase adaptive shielding hidden beneath apparent hull damage. The bridge team watched as panels they'd dismissed as decorative slid aside, revealing advanced targeting systems and control interfaces. The simple captain's chair transformed into a neural interface station. Hull is composed of smart matter, the AI continued, capable of reconfiguring in real time to counter enemy attacks. Power core is a micro-singularity tap, not the fusion reactor you detected. All systems were designed to appear primitive until activation codes were received. Professor Vale, who had joined them on the bridge, looked like he might faint. But this technology, it's centuries ahead of anything we have. Correct, the AI confirmed. This vessel was built 50 years ago by human standards. We allowed its discovery because this sector needed protection. The raiders have been causing problems. We were positioned to respond. Dr. Marcus sat in the neural interface chair, and displays sprang to life around him. The ship's full tactical capabilities appeared before his eyes, and he gasped. The Thunder wasn't just advanced, it was beyond anything he imagined possible. The raiders appear to be using stolen prototype weapons, the AI noted. Advanced, but predictable. Their hull armor absorbs energy weapons. Fortunately, the ship's weapon displays lit up. We have something better. Through the windows, they could see the Thunder's outer hull completing its transformation. The dull, battle-scarred surface had become a deep black material that seemed to bend light around it. Weapon ports that had looked welded shut smoothly opened, revealing systems that glowed with barely contained power. Humans, Professor Vale whispered, you've been hiding this technology all along. Partial correction. The AI responded, "We haven't been hiding. We've been watching. Every primitive human ship you've encountered in recent years, like this one. Every outdated defense system. Disguised. Humanity learned long ago that appearing weak while being strong is better than appearing strong while being weak." The raiders' ships were moving into final attack position around the station. They still hadn't noticed that the ancient relic in the research bay had transformed into something else entirely. "Dr. Marcus," the AI said, "combat authorization required. You have command." Marcus looked at the tactical display, now understanding why humans had become so secretive about their military technology. It wasn't shame that kept them quiet. It was strategy. "Thunder ready for combat," the AI announced. "Shall we show our friends outside why underestimating human technology is a serious mistake?" Dr. Marcus nodded, a smile spreading across his face as he watched the raiders' ships through the quantum-enhanced viewport. They had no idea what was about to hit them. "Thunder," he said clearly, "you have permission to engage." The U.S. Thunder moved with impossible grace for a ship its size, sliding out of the research bay like a predator emerging from its den. The raiders, focused on the defenseless station, didn't immediately notice the transformed warship. "Target analysis complete," the AI announced. "Their armor is designed to absorb and redirect energy weapons. Conventional kinetic weapons would be ineffective." "So what do we do?" Dr. Marcus asked from the command chair. "We show them why humans don't rely on conventional weapons." The AI's voice held a hint of satisfaction. "Initiating combat sequence." The first raider ship finally noticed the thunder. Their sensors must have registered something strange, because they immediately broke off their attack on the station and turned their weapons toward the human vessel. "Enemy ships charging weapons," the AI reported calmly. "Their targeting systems are having difficulty locking on. Our quantum distortion field is working as designed." The raiders fired first. Brilliant beams of energy lanced out from their ships, aimed at the thunder. But where they should have struck hull plating, they instead passed through empty space. The thunder wasn't where it appeared to be. "Quantum displacement drive functioning perfectly," the AI noted. "Beginning counterattack. Deploying nanoswarm missiles." What looked like normal torpedoes launched from the thunder's weapon ports. The raiders didn't even try to dodge, their advanced armor making them confident. That was their first mistake. As the missiles approached, they split apart into millions of tiny machines. The swarm surrounded the nearest raider ship, ignoring its energy-absorbing armor completely. Instead, the nanites began disassembling the ship at the molecular level. "By the stars," Professor Vale whispered, watching the raider ship literally come apart in seconds. The remaining raiders realized their danger. 11 ships turned as one, bringing all their weapons to bear on the thunder. Energy beams and plasma bolts filled space. "Adaptive shield matrix engaging," the AI announced. "Redirecting enemy fire." The space around the thunder shimmered. Every shot fired by the raiders was caught in a web of quantum fields, their energy collected and redirected. The thunder's hull began to glow with absorbed power. "Energy collection complete," the AI reported. "Preparing main weapon." What the raiders had thought was a primitive railgun on the thunder's bow transformed. Panels slid aside, revealing the weapon that seemed to bend reality around it. The collected energy from the raiders' own weapons fed into the system. Quantum disruption cannon charge. Firing. A beam of pure darkness shot from the thunder's bow. It didn't look like much. No flash, no explosion, just a line of absolute black that connected the thunder to the nearest raider ship. When it hit, the raider vessel didn't explode. Instead, it simply ceased to exist, the very atoms of its structure pulled apart by fundamental forces. The remaining raiders began to retreat. Their confidence shattered, they turned their advanced ships away from the battle. But the thunder wasn't finished. "Multiple targets locked," the AI announced. "Deploying phase nets." The thunder's primitive sensor arrays revealed their true purpose, launching webs of quantum energy that wrapped around the fleeing ships. The raiders found themselves trapped, their engines straining against forces they couldn't understand. Surrender is advised. The thunder broadcast on all frequencies. Your weapons cannot penetrate our defenses. Your armor cannot protect you from our attacks. You have 10 seconds to power down your ships. On the bridge, Dr. Marcus watched as 8 of the remaining raiders quickly shut down their systems. 2 ships tried to fight on, firing desperately at the thunder. Their weapons splashed harmlessly against quantum shields. Final warning ignored. The AI noted. Eliminating threats. 2 more quantum disruption beams struck out, and 2 more raiders vanished from existence. The space around the research station fell quiet except for the gentle hum of the thunder's engines. Commander Rix's voice came over the comm, filled with awe. Dr. Marcus, what did we just witness? Marcus looked at the tactical display, showing the 8 surrendered raiders caught in the thunder's phase nets and the empty space where 4 advanced warships had been moments before. Commander, he replied, I think we just learned why humans let everyone think their technology was primitive. They weren't hiding in shame. They were hiding in plain sight. The thunder's AI added, and there are more of us out there. Many more. All waiting, watching, ready to protect those who need it. All disguised as relics that nobody would look at twice. In the silence that followed, everyone on the station looked at the magnificent warship with new eyes, finally understanding that they had been part of humanity's greatest deception, making their enemies think they were weak when they were actually far, far stronger than anyone had imagined. 1 week after the battle, Research Station 7 buzzed with activity of a very different kind. Representatives from a dozen alien worlds had arrived to witness the formal surrender of the captured raider ships. The U.S. Thunder floated outside the station, its true form now fully visible to all, a reminder of how appearances could be deceiving. Commander Rix stood before the assembled diplomats in the station's main hall. His voice, once full of arrogance, now carried a note of humility. This event has taught us all a valuable lesson, he announced. We thought we understood the nature of human technology. We believed their secrecy came from embarrassment over their primitive designs. He paused, looking through the viewport at the thunder. We were wrong. Dr. Marcus sat next to Professor Vale in the front row. The thunder's AI spoke through his communication device, sharing information that only he could hear. Mark this day, the AI told him quietly. It's not just about the raiders' defeat, it's about understanding. The captured raider leaders were brought forward in restraints. Their stolen prototype weapons have been confiscated, their ships now held in quantum containment fields. Captain Drell, their commander, looked broken, not just from defeat, but from the realization of how completely they had been outmatched. The human device we found, Commander Rix continued, was not a relic. It was a guardian, placed here deliberately, waiting to protect those who needed help, and there are more of them out there. The assembled diplomats murmured among themselves. Everyone had seen similar old human ships in their sectors. Everyone had dismissed them as outdated technology. Now, they all wondered what else they had missed. Professor Vale stepped up to the podium. Our research team has been granted limited access to study the Thunder's outer systems. What we found is remarkable. The technology isn't just advanced. It represents an entirely different path of development than anything we knew was possible. The Thunder's AI spoke through the station's speakers, its voice carrying to all present. Humanity chose not to display their advancement. They chose to watch, to wait, to protect. The ships you see as relics are part of a network. We guard trade routes, protect colonies, and stand ready to help those in need. Dr. Marcus noticed how the diplomatic representatives shifted uncomfortably. Each of them had similar abandoned human vessels in their territories. Each of them had ignored these ships, thinking them worthless. Now they understood. They had been protected all along without knowing it. In light of these events, Commander Rix announced, the Galactic Council has approved a formal alliance with human space. Dr. Marcus will serve as our first official liaison. Marcus stood, still somewhat overwhelmed by everything that had happened. A week ago, he had been a junior researcher, curious about an old ship. Now he was going to be working directly with humanity's advanced defense network. The Thunder's AI added one final revelation. The Raiders' defeat has been noted. Similar events have occurred in 12 other sectors in the past month. Different ships, same result. The message is clear. Those who would prey on others will find that help often comes from unexpected places. As the ceremony concluded, Commander Rix approached Dr. Marcus privately. "There's one thing I don't understand," he said quietly. "Why reveal this now? Why not stay hidden?" Marcus smiled, remembering his conversations with the Thunder's Eye. Because sometimes the best protection isn't just having power, it's letting others know you have it. The Raiders aren't the only threats out there. Now everyone knows that those primitive human ships they've been ignoring, they're not relics. They're guardians. Through the station's windows, they could see the Thunder's quantum field shimmer slightly, its advanced systems no longer hiding behind a mask of age and damage. It was beautiful, powerful, and a testament to humanity's greatest strength, the ability to be underestimated. "The humans have a saying," Marcus told the commander. "Don't judge a book by its cover." I think we've all learned what that really means. The Thunder's AI spoke one last time, its words echoing through the station. "Remember this day. Remember what you learned. And next time you see something that looks primitive or weak, remember, appearances can be deceiving. We'll be watching, we'll be waiting, and we'll be ready to help when needed." In the silence that followed, everyone present understood that the galaxy had changed. The age of underestimating humanity was over. The age of understanding had begun.